Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Working Mum to Business Mum, helping working mums realise their dream of starting or growing their own business so that they can give up the day job to be more present in their families, all without the overwhelm and feeling like you need to work on your business every spare moment that you have. I'm Debbie Lucas, and we're back onto my unique journey method with the next stop of N for nurturing. Over the last few weeks, I've been taking you through each step of my journey method, helping you to know your ideal client, craft a unique solution, and grow your audience by creating that know, like, and trust factor. My journey method is for coaches, therapists, counsellors, and anyone in a service-based industry who is looking to generate consistent, semi-passive income so that they can focus their time and attention on doing what they love without feeling the need to chase one-to-one clients as your only source of income. So you have built up a following on your social media, have lots of visitors to your website, and a decent email list. But how do you keep them engaged and interested in what you have to offer? Before I go into my top 3 ways of keeping them engaged, a story about gourmet popcorn. Now, I'm a lover of any kind of popcorn. Buttery, sweet, salty, sweet and salty, basically any flavour going. I'm always the one with the biggest tub of popcorn at the cinema. A few years ago, my wife bought me a bag of gourmet popcorn from a now well-known and established brand here in the UK. OMG, this stuff is good. But it is on the pricey side compared to a bag of standard microwave popcorn. But yet, I regularly splurge on the good stuff as a treat to myself, more so than any other type of luxury. And I'll explain why understanding my love of this brand of popcorn can help you keep your followers engaged. Right, N for nurture. So you have managed to grow your audience through followers on social media, your group on Facebook, and people have signed up to your newsletter, but you're still not seeing conversions to sales. I spoke about the rule of 7 in episode 19 of my podcast, which basically means that people need to see, hear and get a feel for you at least 7 times before they will buy from you. And so, you need to be offering content that will give them value and let them really get a feel for what it will be like to work with you. And so I'll go through some tips of how to nurture your audience and get them to engage with you. When it comes to social media, I see a lot of people winging it. They will post useful content, but there is no real purpose or strategy behind it. And more often than not, it's not consistent either. For social media, you need to have a 2-pronged approach. The first is to build and grow your audience, and I'll cover this in episode 23 when I discuss why for yearning. And the second strand to a social media strategy is to nurture the followers you already have. And this is what I'll cover right now. You want to offer them value and encourage engagement with your content. And by the way, this is also great for your algorithm, which in turn helps growing your audience, but that's a whole other podcast episode. When your audience engages with your content, you can get a real sense of what matters to them and get real-time feedback on the issues they are currently struggling with, which in turn helps you with writing your copy for future posts. Social media is definitely not a post and run type of task. You want to monitor what content gets real engagement and build on that. And by being responsive to the comments that people leave on your posts, you can really get to know your audience and offer value on top of value. Nurturing posts are not about sales. They are purely about offering value and continuing to build that know, like, and trust factor. In episode 14, I discussed whether having a website is important or not, and went into a lot of detail about what to consider when deciding on a website and your goal for it. If you do have a website, it's a great way to get into more detail about who you are and what you offer. It is also your own online space where you can use blogging to really get into the detail of some of your core content pillars and what matters most to your audience. You can offer them so much more value in a longer blog post. Social media is great, but people consume information in a fast-paced way, and it needs to be short and sweet to keep them engaged. I don't know about you, but when I have to scroll and scroll and scroll to read a post on social media, I get bored very quickly and give up. I'm not on social media to read blogs. However, as I said, people consume information in different ways. And so blogging is a great way to reach those who like to read and digest information at their own pace. So really think about your content pillars. Create 3 to 5 cornerstone blogs that you want to send people to, and then write blogs about other topics within your niche. Blogging is a huge area, and there are entire podcasts dedicated solely to this, but I will cover this area in more detail in a later episode. As with social media, you want to be consistent with your blog posts, so plan ahead and post at a regular frequency. 2 quick wins that blogging can add to the success of your business is that you can create a whole batch of social media content by breaking your blog down into smaller chunks for social media. And secondly, if you get your SEO or search engine optimization right, you can help your ranking on search engines because you are using keywords or phrases that your audience will be searching for and regularly adding new content to your website, which the Google bots like. In next week's episode, I'll be discussing E for entry point, which is how you use lead magnets to grow your email list. But for now, let's focus on nurturing the people you already have on your email list. A newsletter is a great way to communicate with your audience on a regular basis, and probably feels a little more personal to them as well. Now, there is a fine balance to be struck here because nobody wants to be spammed. You need to have a clear plan for your newsletter year. Too often, and people will get annoyed and unsubscribe. Too infrequent, and you will lose the chance to build that consistent relationship with them. So, whether you send a newsletter weekly or monthly, be consistent with it. But how do I know what to put in a newsletter? I hear you cry. Well, if you have a clear strategy for your blog, then as with your social media content, you can build your newsletter around your blog too. Whether it's a monthly roundup of your weekly blogs or a newsletter each time you post a blog, just be consistent. And in order to avoid that dreaded U word, unsubscribing, be sure to offer additional value to only those who are on your newsletter list. So whether that's an occasional guide of some sort, a private video shared in your newsletter, or special offers or discounts when you're launching a new product or service, you want to give them a reason to stay on your email list and actually engage with what you offer. There is so much more to cover in relation to newsletters, so I'll come back to this in another episode at a later date as well. So there you have the top 3 ways to keep your audience engaged and, more importantly, nurture them. Whether you choose to use only one or all 3, the key here is consistency. Whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly, ensure that you post on a regular basis and build your content around your content pillars. Another key tip to actually get your audience engaged is to ask a question that they can answer, or else you'll be left with a load of likes, but no real engagement. Coming back to my popcorn obsession. The reason I choose to spend money on this particular gourmet brand is because they nurture me. They regularly bring out new flavours or limited edition ones, but they also send a discount code every so often to encourage me to buy. They sell a lifestyle on social media and paint a picture of what life would be like with a little bag of luxury popcorn by your side. They post regularly, and even though they are now a huge company with over 50,000 followers on Instagram, they still take the time to respond to comments on their posts. And so you can see when there's so much choice in the popcorn market, they are able to keep me engaged by nurturing me and keeping me coming back as a return customer. To finish up, here are your top takeaways from today's episode. There are many ways to nurture your audience. Social media, blogs, and your newsletter are only 3 of them. Having a strategy for all 3 is a great way to ensure consistency and building that know, like, and trust factor. Get maximum bang for your time and effort by repurposing your content. Ask your audience questions. People will be more likely to reply to a question or a prompt than just leave a random comment on your post. And lastly, by engaging with your audience, you can really get to know what matters to them and use it to plan future content and offer even more value. To end with a quote from Randy Pausch: "The size of your audience doesn't matter. What's important is that your audience is listening." Nurturing your audience is really important. I would say even more important than actually growing it. You want to ensure that the people who have shown an interest in you stay engaged so that when they are ready for the transformation that you offer, they know exactly what that is and how to get in on the action. Before I finish up, a quick reminder of my next book club episode 25, where I'll be sharing my top 10 takeaways from the book Authentic, Aligned and Abundant by the amazing Di Hill. I'd love to continue hearing your insights and will include them in the discussion, so be sure to share them with me on my social media, and all the links are in the show notes. Join me next week for episode 22, where we reach E for Entry Point, the penultimate stop on the journey method. I'll be discussing lead magnets and how to get your prospective clients to enter your world. As always, you can find me on all the usual social media channels and in my Facebook group, Working Mum to Business Mum. And of course on my website, coachingwithdebbie.com, where you'll find a link to sign up to my weekly newsletter so that you get any resources I mention in my episodes directly to your inbox. And all those links are in the show notes below. And one final request from me. If you like this podcast, it would really help me a lot if you can share it, rate and review it, and if you don't want to miss the next episode, then hit that subscribe button. Until then, wishing you all the best.